Hi guys, welcome to the Friendly Differences podcast. I am your host, Baram Yu, and beside me we have our co-host, Solid Blue Sister. We thought about jumping on we're not going to be doing a show this weekend as it is my birthday weekend. I'll be 29, joke. I'll be 34 if you must know. So this weekend we were not doing a show. We've actually scheduled one for the weekend after, which is I think the 2nd of April.
It is the 2nd, yes.
2nd of April. We've scheduled to do the COVID show that you guys have probably all been waiting for. We've teased it on Solid Blue's show, my show. You know, we've talked about it for long enough, so I think we just better get it out of the way. People, you know, maybe are sick fed up hearing about it, but you know, pretty much every podcast I'm on nowadays, someone will bring something up about COVID. So I thought we'd just get it out of the way. We actually have a special guest coming on who I'm very familiar with. And if you've been listening to me on my show, Whatcast has been a big, me and him have been on each other's show, and he's going to come on and help us out with that. And we are looking for a fourth. I still believe we're looking for a fourth. We want someone that's going to be on the, how would you put it? You want to take over?
No, I mean, we want we're trying to keep the show even. So, you know, you have some people who are for something and then some people who are against, or, you know, vice versa. So I am for vaccines. I am a vaxxer, you know, so we're looking for someone who is also vaxxer, you know, so anybody out there who is interested and can keep a level head, then, you know, we are more than, you know, willing to have you come on and chat with us or debate. Actually, it is debating, because we're debating the pros and cons. Should you, shouldn't you, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And that's, I mean, I've got written down in my notes here, I've got the question, how do you feel the shows have gone so far? For, you know, what you were just saying there is kind of my answer already. It's like, so far the shows have been great, but we haven't really hit that, you know, apart from maybe Michael Steele, who has his strong beliefs and he's on the left. And other than that, we haven't really had much pushback. The three shows for me have been quite, you know, there's not been so much like grit and like not that I want argumentativeness. I mean, it's good to have the fire and the strong views, but we haven't really had that, because with the gun control especially, everyone agreed that we should be allowed to have guns. It was just, you know, the whole vetting people before it and all that, and common sense. So how do you feel they've gone?
I mean, for one thing that I think the shows go too long. So that is one thing. And, you know, the gun control show that went 2.5 hours. And I know people are, you know, getting bored, you know, whatever, even if you're listening. But I think you are right. I think we did not have, you know, much pushback. And I think that people assume that just because you're on the left, you're a certain way. Just because you're on the right, you're a certain way. And is it, I mean, and when you think about it, are issues a left-right thing?
See, I mean, you've spoke after, you know, this is what me and Solid have spoken about a few times. After our shows, me and Solid will stay on and do a little wrap-up, and we ended up getting into a couple of really good conversations that we wished we'd kept the camera rolling and we could have uploaded. And I said, I think we did say on the last the last wrap up, that when I first met, not met in person, but when I first joined your show, My Turn to Talk, I was of the understanding that all leftists were, the AOC types, the progressive types. And when I first entered your show, you maybe even don't remember this, but it was it was maybe late 2021. You were doing a show about BLM, and I joined, and you were talking about George Floyd, and it went back and forth, and I never joined it. Not because I felt, you had Shy Lady up there, you had, it was like a one-sided show at that time. It was, and I felt like it could have gone either way. I might have ended the show where the feelings might not have been good, and I might never have came back again. But it didn't, because I'm always respectful. And then I came back again maybe 3-4 months ago, and ever since then we've kind of hit it off. And throughout that 3-4 months, I've been consistently worried about upsetting people, and it's my own fault. It's no one's fault but my own. But because of my last 5-6 years, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube of like collages of SJWs, social justice warriors, and people just going into meltdown after they hear Trump say something. So I just assume that all leftists are like that, and it's me that's got the problem. So when I meet someone like you, and get to know you and listen to your views, and find out you're more moderate, and you're also telling me that age group is more moderate, and it's actually the younger generation that that I'll have been watching, which is true, because it's a lot of them are young, university students that just, it blows my mind watching them. It's really cringy in my opinion. So, it's been hard for me to get out of that mindset and stop brand.
RMU podcast joined.
Oh, we lost there. Carry on.
Okay, so you said it was about you, about the mindset.
Yeah.
Getting out of that mindset.
Yeah, so getting out of that mindset is just by talking to people like you. And I mean, even, you laugh and joke because there's people on pod being like Jester and Michael Key that say you're a closet conservative because you do hold some views that isn't normally a leftist view, but it's common sense. Like, for me, I see it as common sense.
Okay, but see, this is the problem. Okay, this is the problem that I have, that, that people say that if Trump says something that, people get upset. But I have to go back to a lot of the things that he has said has been rude, been nasty, mean, whatever. And I think that the divisiveness in this country, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback from people on the right. I think a lot of it comes from the people on the right. When you're looking at violence and what have you, yes. Do people on the left burn down buildings and what have you? Yes, they did. Should they have done it? No. But at the same time, it's like, whether you want to look at the Capitol or, just the intimidation with the guns, the hate crimes, all these things that are going on. They were going on before, but they were amped up since 2016. And I look at the demographics, and, in 2016, when Hillary Clinton was running, I am a Hillary Clinton fan. If she would have run for president tomorrow, I would vote for her. But at the same time, you look at the Bernie people, and the Bernie people were so, just nasty, mean, rude towards Hillary. And they were, I have this Twitter that someone responded to me on Twitter that I made a screenshot of, and they were literally said this was a Bernie supporter. I guess we have to wait for all the moderates to die before the progressives can, this is coming from the left, and I'm like, you all are freaking crazy. But then again, I look at the right. And I'm like, you all are crazy too. But it's that, younger crowd. And as much as the Bernie people, I mean, they were mad, they were upset. How could Hillary have won? And Bernie had 10,000 people at his, things, whatever. And Hillary only had, like 300 or whatever. But the thing is moderates, older generation, we vote. When you go back and ask the Bernie people, did they vote? Oh, well, I don't feel like standing in line. Or, is my vote really going to matter? Or, okay, you didn't vote. So Bernie can have as many people as you want. But if you don't vote, so I think that, when you go left and right, is it more of an individual thing that your actions are fueling everything that is going on? Because I think there are blue moderates, there are red moderates. And I actually think the red moderates are getting fed up with a lot of this right-wing stuff, but
Yeah. I think that's why they installed the two-party system, and that's something I've been thinking about recently. Is, has it always been a two-party system? I need to learn more about the history of certainly American politics, but in the UK, we have two main parties, but there are other parties that sometimes get a say. That I don't think they've ever been in power, but they do come close, or they win over maybe a constituency, or even the way the government in the UK is set up is like seats. So in the Houses of Parliament, there's maybe, let's say, I could be nowhere near it, but let's say there's 1,000 seats. Maybe the Conservatives win usually the majority, because the Conservatives are always in power in the UK. In fact, I think Labour, which would be the Democrat version, they've only been in power maybe twice in the last 20, 30 years, maybe. I'll have to double check that, but that's what it feels like anyway. And you also have the Liberal Democrats. You have UKIP, which is like United Kingdom Independence Party, and that's a party that I've kind of favoured in the last few years, because they're like nationalist. That's what I would describe myself as. So like, say there's 1,000 seats, and when it comes to the votes, maybe Conservatives will win more than the majority, so they'll win 500 and odd, 600. Labour will win maybe 300, 400, and then the other little parties will win maybe 50 or 20 or 30, and that'll make up the whole house. So they do get some say, but like you said the other night when we were doing the wrap up, it's a shame that there aren't more parties, because you guys are the moderates, and you feel that you're not being represented from the progressives. They're maybe the loud minority. That, I mean, when you brought up Bernie there, that's who I thought was clearly going to win the election, the last one. That's what it looked like to us over here in the UK. I may be talking out of turn, but to me, I believe Bernie was going to wipe the floor with, and even Trump. I think if Bernie went up against Trump, I was really thinking, wow, he could win here. But then you tell me that.
I knew that Bernie was not going to get the nomination when Biden won South Carolina. And I also knew that Trump really wanted Bernie to win, because I think had Bernie been the nominee, Trump would have won. Because Bernie, he's a socialist, and he's associated with that. And the Republicans are trying to say that Democrats are. I'm not a socialist, so, again, they're trying to tie him in with us. And it's like, no. And plus, I also knew that Bernie wasn't going to win, because I knew that most of Bernie's people are progressives who are younger, and they don't get out there and vote. They just don't.
Yeah.
And even on the right, I see that you have younger people who just don't get out there and vote. So and then it was interesting, because I have a friend who, huge Bernie supporter, huge. I mean, he was pissed off in 2016, pissed off in 2020, and ranting and, oh, I can't believe that Bernie didn't get it. And now Trump's president. I hate Trump, whatever. And I'm like, well, did you vote? Well, no. And I'm like, then shut the fuck up. You don't get a say. You don't get a say if you don't vote. So I don't want to hear you complain about Trump if you didn't vote. And then the same thing for 2020. Oh, Biden this and Biden that, and I don't want Trump again, but I don't want Biden. Well, did you vote? No. Again, shut the fuck up. So, it's like, those people who always want to say they don't like something, but then you say, well, did you do this? Did you do this? And then they say no.
Yeah.
So it's like for those people, and that's for everybody. I have no patience for people like that at all. So again, that's why I say, is it a left thing? Is it a right thing? Or is it just an individual responsibility thing? Because I don't think that this country or this globe is so divided because of left and right. I think we're divided because personal people take it upon themselves to go out and, stand out somewhere and just spew things that are either hateful or are just downright wrong or just downright lies, whatever. And I think that that's on both sides.
Yeah, but to push back on that, aren't they doing those things in the name of their belief system, or politics is a belief system? If I'm maybe taking it to the extreme, but whenever you hear of a terrorist attack or a shooting in America, there's normally a manifesto found with, I'm a nationalist, I'm a Trump supporter, or whatever. So unless I'm missing what you're saying, to me, it's like they're doing it because they're radicalized by these belief systems. Like, to me, the reason why, and I know I'll just say it, like when I say on your show or on the Friendly Differences, left and right, and you kind of push back on that, and I'm trying to, while I'm at work, I'm thinking, how else can I word it? Because it will be, I do agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, what I see is these stereotypical leftists, the SJWs, progressives, I don't know what to call them, but to me, the people that we see, or maybe it's just because I'm in the UK and I only see a little snippet, and usually it's the 1% of just idiots. And again, you'll have that on the right as well, but I'm obviously I stand with the right. So, and to make my point, what I'll say is the people that I'm seeing are like the progressive AOC types that are falling down to the ground crying because Trump was voted in, or freaking out because genders, transgender terms are being, the offended, the snowflakes, the people. I always write on some of my posts that some of these students have safe rooms in their schools. If any speaker came to their class that was a right-leaning person, they're allowed to opt out of that class, and they basically sit in a safe room. And I joke that, they've probably got dolphin music playing into the room and pillows and cushions so they can just rock themselves back to reality, because some of these views, maybe like a Ben Shapiro or someone, a Candace, and someone on the right, would be too much for their little brains to handle. And those are the types that I'm getting at. Those are the types that are, and again, I'm under no, I don't believe for 1 minute that they are the majority of America or even the majority of the left, because since meeting you, I'm thinking that like the left are more moderates, and these progressive types that the media show us are a small percent, yet they're using them to kind of push the way the world's going. So they're always pushing the world in a new direction. Like, the right are more traditional views like marriage and conservatism. That's what I believe anyway. And then you've got the left who are pushing boundaries, changing the terms of genders and sexes, and just pushing the world in that. That's why the term progressive was invented, because they are progressive. They're pushing us in a way that I don't always agree with. In fact, I probably push back on a lot of it. Yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. And I always take exception when you say that, that the right is more, we have morals and, whatever. But I look at it, you look at something like, are you pro-life or are you pro-choice, whatever? who are the people who are going and bombing and killing doctors? It's not the people on the left. So when you say that, pushing people, and you look at the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matthew Getz, I was listening to some of the Supreme Court stuff for this new judge, whatever. And the way the Republicans, the questions that they asked her yesterday were just so downright nasty, rude, and I'm gonna say the word, it was racist, and you look at it and you're like, are you kidding me? And they're pushing on her because of her some of the what do you call it? Some of the judgments or what do you call it? When some of the sentences, some of the sentences that she gave pedophiles, and they're saying, "Oh, well, you're too easy on that." But yeah, you got Matt Gaetz sitting over there in the House, who's been accused of being with a 16-year-old girl, but you don't want to talk about that. I mean, you have the right who you don't want to out your own, but you want to talk about everybody else. But can you talk about this? And again, and when you say, oh, the left, morals or whatever, but you have somebody who is out there, excuse me, I'm gonna say it, talking about grabbing people by the pussy, so it's like, don't make it sound like that the left is like, we don't have morals and whatever. Yes, we have morals, we teach our children, whatever. But at the same time, the right are also pushing things a certain way, and the divisiveness in this country, I'm sorry, to me, mainly started with one person. And people started to follow that one person. So when you say the left, you gotta include the right in there, because the right has done some really nasty things, and the left has too. So, and unfortunately, we have been a country that has always been a two-party system that has evolved into other parties. But we need, we need 6 or 7, because a two-party system just is not working. It doesn't work for everyone. And at one point I said, maybe Black people should just go out and we should get our own party, because neither one of them are working for us. But when you look at the lesser of two evils, for me, it's going to be the left, because of the way the right tends to treat people who look like me. So
that's why I tend not to, like I've said this to you before on your show, that you'll never hear me, or you normally, I'm not saying never, but I try not to defend things that maybe Trump said or Biden said, or because to me it's a losing battle, because you may win one of those arguments, but then someone else will bring up something that he also said, or there's always a skeleton in someone's closet, and I think it's done by design. My beliefs and all that, and I'm trying to stay away from that side. But some of these presidents and politicians, they're purposely saying things to be divisive, and you're totally right. And you're also totally right on, when 2016 and Trump became president, that's when a lot of this divisiveness amped up. And I saw that firsthand, because it's what got me into politics. It gave me an interest in, when I saw the hatred around Trump and those comments, and I was like, whoa, this man must be one of the most evilest men ever walked the earth. Why? So I looked into him, and that's where I'm at just now. Like, I'm trying to pull back from politics when I listen to right-leaning shows on Podbean, for instance. We've had Michael Key on, or a John Gale or a John DeVito show. I also feel the same way about them as I feel about listening to maybe a socialist or a progressive podcast where they're talking about AOC and all that, because it's an endless cycle. Nothing will ever get fixed. Like listening to Michael Key, and with all due respect, if he's listening, he's doing a show the other night about Hunter Biden's bank account and what he's been spending his money on, and these pictures on his laptop that have been leaked. And I'm like, with all due respect, Michael, they want you to see that stuff. If you didn't if they didn't want you to see that stuff, you wouldn't, because a bank account is sacred. Like, you can't leak a bank account. It's against someone's, and a lot of these stories that we're getting shown in the media and the news, and with presidents and, tax evading, and, Trump didn't pay his tax, so neither did Hillary, neither does Amazon and Google. It's that kind of stuff that I'm like so put off by, because it's distraction. It's to get me and you fighting about, well, Trump did this, no, but Biden did this, and then Hillary also did this. And to me, I'm out. You know what I mean? So that's why, with Friendly Differences, I'm kind of pulling it round full circle. Doing the shows that we've done are way better, because you're actually talking about the philosophy of things like gun control. We're not arguing about, well, Trump says this about guns and Biden said this about guns. We're actually just talking about guns. We're not, to me, I think that's the best way to attack these issues. Yeah.
I mean, no, and you're right, and that's why I come back and saying that it's an individual thing, because, politicians are ill-informed. They don't know what is going on. They make laws based on their own little bubble. And they make comments, to get votes, whatever. And that's why I say, is it really a left thing or is it a right thing? Mm-hmm. There aren't many liberal shows on Podbean. A lot of them are right leaning. And I go in and I listen to them. Sometimes I'll comment on some of them. Most of them I'll just sit and listen, because I want to know what everybody thinks. But then I have to go to like Apple, to find the podcast for the left, and even then it's like, okay, can we stop talking about this? Can we stop? I mean, can you all talk about something else? I mean, and that's why when I do my shows, with the topics that I have, some of them get a little heated, whatever, but for you to come in on my show, for me, it was like, great. We have someone who has another point of view. And I don't think you should ever have to worry about what people think, because I think, especially with the regular people that I have, everyone kind of knows where everybody is. And yeah, you may say something where somebody go, what did he just say? Or what did she just say? Whatever. But at the end, it's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. What are you having for dinner? I mean, I don't think that my shows ever get to the point where you're screaming and you're, well, we did have that one. Whatever. But even then, that was, more of a personal thing. It wasn't where anyone was really, getting, heated about whatever. But yeah, I mean, you are right. You go on some of these shows, it's like, okay, they're going to talk about this again. Okay, we're going to hear about this again. Okay, so you're going to keep talking about Trump. You're going to keep talking about Biden. You're going to keep talking about Hillary. Okay, Clinton. Seriously, Bush, do we really have to? I mean, it's like, can we just move on and just talk about something else? Or, how are you going to fix it? But if we're still going to just stay in this thing, so, and that's why I go back to when you see things when people, I'm just going to say what you said, that about these little safe rooms that the left have where they can opt out. Okay, that's just like critical race theory, and I hate that term. I hate that term, critical race theory. But it's like, now parents want to opt out. I don't want my kid to listen to about slavery or whatever. What's the difference? What's the difference about with this kid? You're opting your kid out of this, but yet you're going to say that people on the left are opting out of this. I mean, the bottom line is, everyone should just homeschool their kids, teach them whatever the hell you want. When they get older, they figure it out for themselves. I mean, seriously, because
I actually shared a tweet just 20 minutes before we jumped on here tonight. In 1993, there was maybe, it was like in the hundreds of thousands of people were homeschooling. In 2022, there are 5 million children being homeschooled. So I can't remember if that was the UK or if that was America or the world. But I mean, I shared it. I was like, hope, that's, for me, that's hope, because I know we can argue about what are parents teaching their kids, but ultimately I think it'll do a damn sight better than the education system that we have, because clearly something needs to change.
Well, the education system in the United States sucks. And one thing that I think made America suck is when Ronald Reagan was in office and Nancy Reagan was doing the whole, I do believe it was Reagan and not Bush. I'm going to go back and double check that, but the whole No Child Left Behind, which included, and I know I'm going to have some Latinos get upset with me, which included where you had Latinos who couldn't speak English, and teachers were supposed to, well, make sure that they understood the material before moving on. Okay, well, what about, okay, so I'm supposed to wait until your child understands English so they can understand the material. Meanwhile, these other kids are being held back, and this is what I think. I think like Asians, at least here in America, you have Chinese schools, you have Japanese schools, Jewish people, they have their own schools. I think that Latinos should have their own schools. I think that if you were so concerned about your child learning how to speak English, then you have a school where you teach them English and then they can transition over. But the school systems are just so messed up that, I mean, my son went to regular school until fourth grade. And he had been asking me, I want to homeschool. And I said, okay. And fifth grade through 12th grade, he was homeschooled. His test scores went up, and that was private school, and his test scores went up, and, everything was just so much better. So, awesome. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I want to bring up, because I'm hoping he'll be listening, Raoul Black sent us an email. He's been commenting on our shows on the YouTube platform, and I'm so sorry, bud, if you're listening. I actually checked the email today because I thought surely no one's emailing us yet. We're only 3 shows in, but Ruel, I hope I'm saying it right, one of those 2 ways, sent us a lovely email, and I just got it today, and I've replied. So you're more than welcome to come on. We are, we do have a list of people that we would like to come on, but that's exactly what we're looking for. If you want to come on the Friendly Differences podcast, please send us an email or reach out to us on Instagram at friendly_differences_pod, and we'll put you down on the list. But ultimately with Ruel, he's said to me that he kind of leans in the same direction as me politically. So we're maybe thinking not to have him on the COVID show because we're kind of one-sided with that. We need someone on the opposite side. We'll maybe have Ruel for the white fragility or BLM shows that we're having. I think that's the next kind of phase. We've done 3 politically based shows, the gun control, immigration, freedom of speech. We're going to move on to do COVID being the next one, possibly white fragility or white privilege type show, and then to weigh things up, maybe
transgender is also a topic.
Yeah,
and that's a show that I really want. I want to do the white fragility show, and I want to do the transgender shows. Those are the 2 that I'm looking forward to doing.
Transgender would have been a good one as well because it's quite relevant with that swimmer. I'm sure you're familiar with what's been
swimmer
happening there.
and the wrestler.
The wrestler, yeah. It's been pretty much relevant for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. It's been kind of brought up, and again, the divisiveness and the the division it causes. So, we'll have Raoul's definitely on the list. We'll have him on soon, and anyone else that wants to come on.
Also, can I just do a shout out to him saying that we, like you said at the beginning of this, that we can do a Zoom between the 3 of us just to get to know him and see exactly, or maybe a particular show that he's interested in, whatever, or a particular topic, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned that with Revolutionary Bro. We've still to get an email from him. We'd love to have him on. And we also don't want people feeling like this is a trap. Like, come on with us, and we'll just bully you. It's not like that. So if anyone wants to come on and just have the three of us, me, Solid, and you, on a Zoom call just for 10, 15 minutes to get to know us and chat about the show, just to make you feel comfortable, then we're more than happy to do that. There's no gotcha tactics or anything like this. And I know, and even again, I'll say it again, you don't have to be on the screen. You can have a picture up, as long as you're, what we should mention here is, Will and F1 Grid, kind of with the background noise of driving, and it was great of them to join us. But if anyone's gonna to participate in our show, we just ask that you're situated in one spot, not moving around. There's no background noise, just for the audio quality. So I've said to Will and that look, if you can't make it, I didn't know if he felt pressured that time that he was in the car and he jumped off. I think that was the gun control episode. So there's no pressure. Just we'd rather you say, look, I'm going to be busy and I won't make it, and we can draft someone else in. So yeah.
Okay, all right. And I know that the time difference also, because you're in the UK. I know F1 is in New Zealand, and it's a full. I think he's like 21 hours ahead of me here on the West Coast. So it was like 10 a.m. the next day. So I know that the time also has a lot to do with it. But I would love to get more people from the UK on. I'm interested in what their views are, not necessarily what they think about us over here, because I think Americans tend to be idiots, But I mean, I want to know, what is going on there, what is happening there, that is, making the world the way it is. What do you guys think? So I'm interested in meeting what's cast, even though our views are probably different. But still, it's like these are his views, and this is what he thinks, and
what cast is he's like the ranty type. I told him after he'd done a show on the masks, with Fauci. He sat and just it's like he pressed record and just went off on one, and it was so hilarious. It reminded me on George Carlin, the type of comedy he would do. And I actually said that to him. I says, you ever thought about going to like an open mic night, because you can just rant and rave? But he's not like politically correct. He's not into politics as such. But I think, like Chilwell, I love that kind of aspect where it's just down to earth, groundedness. What they see is what they, there's no filter. It's
Right.
just, real. And, sometimes when you're into it as much as me and you probably are, you can kind of get too much into it. You forget about reality. You kind of live that life of politics and what they want you to believe. And I think it's great to have grounded, more grounded people, or people that aren't interested in what's going on in Congress or or houses of parliament, and just what's going on in the streets.
So I would love to have, just everyday people on. I don't want to pull people just from a certain group or whatever. Is like you said, whomever wants to come on, come on. Just be respectful. We're not cursing anybody out. Whatever. If you feel you cannot keep it on a level thing, then
Yeah.
and just listen and type in the chat, whatever. And Grizz, if you're listening, I know you want to come on. So we would love for you to reach out to us. So friendly differences at Gmail, reach out to us if you want to make it more of a private thing that we only see it. But yeah. So
awesome. So we'll possibly do one of these every 3 shows. We might do one like where we're just set, me and you, we recap on the previous shows and touch base with you guys at home. thanks for the support and the comments, the likes. We're trying to get better advertising our show. We were a bit disappointed with the last show because we streamed over Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. And the first show we done that, we had plenty. And I think maybe it's just the advertisement aspect we need to get better at on Instagram and things. That'll all come. So thanks for doing this chat, Solid Blue. And the up and coming show, as I say, COVID on the 2nd of April, Saturday, the normal time. We're going to stick to that normal time. So you've heard it here, the 12 o'clock. Is it 12 o'clock Pacific time?
12 o'clock Pacific time, 12 to 12 noon. So yeah. Before we go, I wanted to just tell you one thing, because you asked me, how did I meet my husband?
Yeah.
I met my husband. Are you familiar with America Online?
Oh, I've heard about that. What's that?
Okay. It was one of the very first platforms out there where you can talk to people. It was pre-Facebook.
Okay.
It was like the first Facebook type of thing. But it was online, and internet wasn't the way it is now. You had to dial up, whatever. And that's how I met him. I met him through a thing like that, whatever. And we just started talking and talking and talking. And we would start talking to each other. And when I say talking, I'm talking about we're chatting, we're typing, back and forth. And we would start at like I was in Chicago at the time. So he was in California. So I was 2 hours ahead of him. And we would start talking like 8 o'clock at night, my time. And we would get off at like 5 a.m. And literally it was like every night it was like doing that. Then we started calling each other. And it was just like, we would stay on the phone. Didn't have the cell phones where we have now. So the phone bills went up, whatever. And then we both, ironically, because of the little group that we were in, I started talking to another woman by the name of Kathy, who I still know. She was also talking to my husband, and they were friends. And she wanted to come to Chicago. At the same time, Kathy was talking to this other guy in Chicago that I actually worked with. And it was just weird. So we said, okay, I'll go to lunch with this guy. You go to lunch with my husband, whatever. And just we'll kind of, whatever. Comes back and she's like, oh, he is so nice. Oh, he is just so nice. You're going to really like him, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then she asked me, so what is his name was Michael. What was he like? He's an asshole. He was just, just not, so, but she still wanted to meet him. So mind you, I had never met Kathy. I had never met her before. She wanted to come out to Chicago. So, so I said, okay, you're not an axe murderer or anything, because I was letting her, stay with me, whatever. So I was living in this really nice, I love this townhouse. I was living in this townhouse, in a suburb of Chicago. And she came, and they were supposed to go to the auto show. And I said, are you sure you want to go with him? I said, you want me to go with you, whatever? And she goes, no. I said, well, you want me to come pick you up? No, he's going to bring me back. I said, are you sure? Whatever. Yes. Okay. So she goes to the auto show with him, and I go home, and it's getting late. She's not calling. Again, we don't have cell phones, so I'm dating myself. This was back in the early 90s. And she's not calling. And finally I get this phone call, and she's at this restaurant, and I dropped her off at 2 p.m. She calls me at like 12 midnight, and he dumped her.
Wow.
So I had to go drive all the way back downtown to pick her up. And I said, why didn't you call me? And apparently she had been sitting here in this restaurant for hours and hours and hours. She was, she was like, I didn't know what to say. I felt bad. I was embarrassed, whatever. So she says, when are you coming out to California? And I said, well, because I had a friend who was out there that I went to a school with. So I said, okay, I'm gonna come out there. So I met my husband. Really nice time. We hit it off, whatever. Everything was fine. Completely opposite of what Kathy went through, and that's how we met. And
Nice.
so
in those days, would you have seen his picture
Oh
before
yeah,
you
yeah.
met?
He sent me his photo,
Nice.
and I sent him mine, and we both said, "Is this really you? Is this really you?" Because people. I mean, the term catfish wasn't out then, whatever. But
Okay.
so yeah. And then it was interesting because his mom said to him, "Make sure she's not like crazy or anything." And then my mom said to me, make sure he's not crazy or anything. But yeah, so we met in 94 and got married in 97.
Nice.
So.
I love hearing stories like that. That's why. I mean, I was saying to you in the audio notes this morning at work, like we're doing these shows, and again, what I've just said previously in on this episode, where we're having these hard conversations, like they can get heated and all that, and we don't actually really know each other. Like with we had Shy Lady on, and for me listening to her, and she has that independent, like strong voice, and like to me I feel, oh, I'm a bit, I don't want to offend her. She's a really nice woman, and I felt like we needed to have this, like these chats where we're even on recording or not. And even for the listener at home, like I said, we should do these shows every maybe 3 episodes. We let the listener, have because I've definitely felt that way with the people I've listened to for years, and I don't even know anything about them. And it's like, it's good to have that. So that's why we're doing this. But I really enjoyed that. It's fun, like, because I'm the same. I met my wife on a dating app, and it's fun to hear that it was also going on in the 90s. I thought that was.
Oh wait, I thought you met her at a protest.
No. I was down in York working on a building site, and it was only supposed to be 6 months. And I was on a dating app, and her picture cropped up, and I actually didn't even notice that she was from America. She had a picture of her bending down to pet her cat, and I'm a cat lover. I've got a cat, and I just messaged her saying, how could I not message you with that cute picture? Something like that. And she responded, and we met up a couple of nights later in York, beautiful city. If you ever come to the UK, York is stunning. It's you'll have to look up the York Minster Abbey, beautiful church. Anyway, it's an old timey, small, quaint city, and so I was only supposed to be there 6 months, and after meeting my now wife, it was like love it. It wasn't love at first sight, because I don't know, but I don't know if I believe in that saying. But when I met her, meeting this girl who was, in university, well educated, reads books. I mean, that sounds hilarious to say that, but when you come from a small town like me, and every girl, every guy just goes out from Thursday to Sunday and gets drunk all weekend because that's all there is to do. Probably nobody's ever picked up a book in their life, including myself. And then I meet this woman who, carries herself well. She's into Edgar Allan Poe. She's reading Stephen King and novels and going to university. And this might sound stupid to some people, but when you come from a small town, again, you'll understand what I mean. So I just I was like, she always laughs that I was all blushy and nervous and like a little school kid, but it was because she was, a strong, independent woman that I'd never come across that type before. And I was on the phone to my boss after a few weeks and can I stay longer than 6 months? I don't want to go home. And he's like, what's happened? I says, oh, I've met a girl and, we're dating and things. So the whole visa process, when we realized that we were serious about each other, she was there doing her master's degree, which ran out, her visa would run out in the January of 2018. And we decided, to look into how can she stay here? And the only option is to get married. And we'd only been dating maybe, I think it was a year and a bit, maybe a year and a few months. And
that's a nice amount of time.
I know, and I came home from work one day, and she was of the assumption that through her master's degree, she would have been given a job, because she was an archaeologist. She was doing her master's in archaeology, and at that time, there was a train line being built from Manchester to London, and it was a big Chinese contract, and she assumed through our university she would be given a sponsorship, and it fell through. And it was like, I come home from work one day and she was in tears, and I was like, there's no way I can let her go home. So I took her to Edinburgh Castle and proposed to her. And
I saw that photo. That's a really sweet photo.
Yeah, I went up to the guy that worked there. He's just like an auxiliary, like a cleaner or a labourer or something. And I says, look, I'm about to propose to my wife, well, my girlfriend. Could you record it? So he's following me and she's looking over the wall. I just told her I was away to the toilet. And, I thought it was a nice touch. But she had to go home, unfortunately, after that. And that was the November or December I proposed to her. She had to jump on a flight on Boxing Day, literally 2 weeks later. And I never saw her until we got married I came over in the February. So 2 months later, I saw her.
So you got married in America?
Yeah, in California. Okay. And then I didn't see her from that point till Christmas. So it was like 10 months I never saw her. And we had to go through the whole visa process. And, I mentioned that on the immigration show. I think Michael Key's going through the same. He's got an Australian fiance. Yeah.
So did your family, anyone in your family go over to America?
Unfortunately, I've just got a small family. I've got my grandparents at the time, but my granddad was suffering from 4-stage cancer. He was, he passed away in the April, and I'm quite glad. My nanny wouldn't have missed it for the world, but I'm glad that she stayed with him because he took a fall in that time and he went downhill rapidly after that. So, and then, it was a nice little quaint, we went to the courthouse in San Diego in downtown, and there was an outdoor like archway with flowers, and all our family came, and, they were like in a semicircle around us. It was a really nice. And then her grandparents had a really nice house, and they put on like a big spread, and all our friends came around, and it was really good. I took over the kilt, the Scottish kilt.
Okay. Yeah,
it was good.
See, for some reason I thought that there was some protest or something. Didn't you tell me about a protest?
Yeah, because when we were in York, that was when Trump was being inaugurated, and we were in the town centre shopping, and there was tons of people in York City Centre with stopping Trump signs. They didn't want him to be president, so they were protesting against it before he was inaugurated. And with my wife being from California, obviously it's a democratic state, and she hated him with a passion, and she made me stand there, and and all along, round about that time was when I was listening to politics political podcasts, and I was developing. I'm not anymore, by the way, but I loved Trump at the time, and I had to keep it a secret. I was like, this guy is nationalist, and it's all the views that I like. I know the grabber by the pussy.
So you still love him?
No, I don't love him.
Okay, then at that point.
I can't stand him, but I love his politics. Like if that was his politics, like the nationalist stuff, I believe in that. So it was awkward, and even up where I'm from in Peterhead, there's a city close by that's maybe a 25-minute drive, and he built a golf course there during the early, well, it was like 2010 maybe the contract started. So when we would drive past, my wife would make me go like that. And I'm like,
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm glad I was able to meet your wife online. She is
yeah.
lovely. So,
No.
all right. Well,
Yeah, thanks.
let's see.
Yeah, we'll just wrap up. Thanks
Okay,
for
sure.
coming on again. It's been good, and like I said, we'll do these every few episodes just to touch base with our listeners and maybe advertise some up and coming shows and that. And yeah, it's been good.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to meeting Rule Black. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Rule Black. Okay. So all right. Well then I will I'm looking forward to your show that you're going to do on my show. So I will see you in a bit.
Yeah. Talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.